evening and welcome to this edition of News Leader. Today is Tuesday, March the 28th, 2023. I'm Andrew Todd. In tonight's news, the story drags on for a Georgia couple who lost their children to DCS after an interstate traffic stop in Coffee County. Dawn Caldwells teaches us about collecting vintage Jack Daniels bottles. And we hear from Coffee County Mayor Judd Matheny along with Election Office Administrator Andy Farah. We'll have all these stories and more on tonight's News Leader.
Hi, my name is Ringo, here at Barkview Senior Living. They're human-friendly. That's why I love it here, and so does my senior human. When they want a bite, they get chef-prepared meals, and so do I. Movies in the theater, day trips, walks on the trail, and other senior humans to play with. The grass and the grounds are exquisite. It's everything my human needs to be healthy and active. Barkview. A Parkview Senior Living. For your dog's best friend, you.
We teach Parkinson's patients how to move big and not let the Parkinson's slow them down. I've had patients I've treated in-house that could not even stand up, could not roll over in the bed, left the facility walking with a walker, have come back to us in outpatient and continued their big program and are now completely, handling life. The success of the program is just phenomenal.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. Leaders of the Tennessee State Conference of the NAACP gathered at the Coffee County Justice Center on Friday and issued a public demand for the release of 5 black children taken from their parents after a misdemeanor traffic stop by a Tennessee state trooper on I-24 last month. News Leader's Philip Scoggins was there and brought back this video.
I would like to thank everyone for being here today. And first off, we'll have First Vice President for the State Conference, Tom Savage.
Thank you, President Rowe. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Savage. I'm the First Vice President of the Tennessee State Conference of the NAACP. I bring you greetings this morning from President and CEO Derek Johnson and the entire 64-member board of directors of the NAACP. But most importantly, I'm here on behalf of one of the most furious freedom fighters ever for social and economic justice, Ms. Gloria J. Sweetlove, Tennessee State Conference President of the NAACP, and our adult members, youth and college chapters, represented by all 3 divisions in the state of Tennessee. Tennessee State Conference calls DCS handling of the 5, calls them out for the handling of 5 children being unjustly taken from parents after a traffic stop. The Tennessee State Conference NAACP is deeply concerned and disturbed by the situation that occurred here in Manchester. Tennessee involving an African-American couple, Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams, who while traveling with their 5 children ages 4 months to 7 years old, were pulled over on February 17th by the Tennessee Highway Patrol in Coffee County. Although the highway stop only led to a citation, there are still issues across the United States of America in regards to driving while black. And the state of Tennessee is not exempt from this systemic problem. The couple's children were unjustly, maliciously, and aggressively taken into Department of Children and Family Services custody without probable cause. And we all understand the problems with this department. The Tennessee NAACP and other civil rights groups have ample evidence that the children were unjustly taken into DCS custody. Considering the dire situation in DCS and its inability to provide a safe environment for children, as widely reported in the news, they have issues. We urge all people of goodwill to contact your legislators with the hope of cleaning up this constant mess in DCS. So thank you, and at this time, I want to turn it over to the Middle Tennessee Vice President of the NAACP, who is responsible for this area, Elder Jimmy Garland.
Thank you, Vice President. I am not going to speak from notes today. I'm going to speak impromptu. In the 1700s, when the police department was formed originally, the purpose of the police department was to make sure that slaves that escaped from the master's farm were found, accosted, and returned to the master. As we fast forward to 2023, we have the same thing, the same scenario, but a different organization.
Yes.
The people that we have doing the same task that they did in the 1700s today is member of law enforcement. I stand here as a black man who grew up in the 60s that understand how hard it was for us to be able to travel from place to place and not making sure that when we left in daylight, we got to where we wanted to land in daylight. Why? Because there was no food. We couldn't stop and eat at a restaurant. There was no shelter. We couldn't sleep in a hotel. And if the police would stop us, we would be afraid for our lives. Today, what we have here in Manchester, we have a family, a black family traveling through Tennessee from Georgia, headed to Chicago to funeralize a relative. They were stopped, accosted, arrested, and the kids were taken from the mother, one that was even on breast. But the question that I have is, no matter why they stopped him, what happened is that we have in our midst, as was stated by VP B. Savage, a black man driving while black in the state of Tennessee. As the vice president for Middle Tennessee District, I call upon the judicial system to expeditiously bring this case to trial, get before the judge, and ask the judge to dismiss all charges and allow this family to get on with their life. This is a travesty. It needs to stop. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. It is every parent's worst nightmare. It's every child's worst nightmare. A month ago, the nightmare came true right here in Coffee County, and it continues to this day. Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams were driving from Atlanta to Chicago to attend a family funeral when the Tennessee Highway Patrol pulled them over for tinted windows and driving in the left lane while not actively passing, both of which are everyday occurrences on I-24. Mr. Williams was arrested for possessing 5 grams of marijuana, which is a misdemeanor, and the nightmare began. A sequence of events we are all still struggling to make sense of led to the family's small children, including a nursing infant, being ripped from their mother's arms and placed in state custody where they remain. The Franklin County NAACP stands in solidarity with the Williams-Claiborne family. We demand the immediate release of the children and a full investigation into all departments and jurisdictions involved. The nightmare is not over until we guarantee this will never happen to another family ever again. In conclusion, I'd like to add, the NAACP is committed to a world without racism, where black people enjoy equitable opportunities and thriving communities. Our work is rooted in racial equity, civic engagement, support for all marginalized people, and membership is open to all who share the mission. Thank you again for turning out today.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Parkview Senior Living, active, independent senior living at its finest.
We tend to lose our motivation when we have something that's chronic, but you've got to do what you can early on as you can. After I'd exercise like that, I would have a lot of energy to do housework or whatever I needed. Well, I would recommend it highly to anyone at any degree of Parkinson.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. Noted Jack Daniels historian, collector, and author Don Caldwell recently showed off parts of his collection with interesting historical information thrown in. News Leader's Philip Scoggins was there and brought back this video.
Anyhow, my name is Don Caldwells. I live in Murfreesboro. I've been collecting Jack Daniels for a little over 43 years and known Mike just about that entire time. But I generally collect the things from the 1860s up to about the 1960s, preferably everything old. But as Mike mentioned, these are the early plain type of jugs, and they started in 1865, 1870 with what they call a beehive jug. And those were made in a half-gallon, 1 gallon, and a 2-gallon, and a 3-gallon. As far as I've seen after all these years, there could be maybe another size larger. And then in the 1870s, up through the 1880s, they made these advertising stencil jugs all the way from a quart size, which is this little one, very hard jug to find, all the way through a 5-gallon. And they put their whiskey in. Very, very big and very heavy. I don't know how they lugged that thing around. And then they also made other advertising jugs with different stencils and lettering all the way in the 1870s and the 1880s, and probably still used much of the early 1900s. Along came the cylinder bottles. These are actually quart cylinder bottles, and they started in 1885. And there's about roughly 10 or 11 versions of these bottles. These are the rare ones, what they call a slug plate, advertising Jack Daniel. And there could be more, but there was at least 3 different bottle manufacturers at the time. Owens, Illinois being one. Brockway has a B on the bottom of the bottles. And there was another company I'll get into that made bottles for Gunner and Jack Daniels called the LC&R Company. And I've done some research, and just recently, in the last couple of years, found some information which I never found before. I have 3 different bottles that are embossed on the bottom, LC&R Company, and no one ever knew what that was. And what that is a company in Louisville, Kentucky, in business from 1893 to 1932. It's called Lambton, Crane, and Ramey. And they actually made bottles, various configurations of whiskey bottles for Jack Daniels and WT and CD Gunner. I'll get into that in a few minutes. But there's stock bottles they made that has Jack Daniel Old Time Distillery, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Probably the most common bottle you'll see, even though they're very difficult to find nowadays. And the ones with the slug plates, there are several versions of that. They're very rare, very hard bottles to find. I just don't think they made a tremendous amount of them. And they also made whiskey jugs up till about 1920, somewhere between 1865 and about 1920, and all kinds of different advertising. And Mike will touch a little bit later on the Motlow advertising and some of the jugs that he advertised with his names on them. Sometime in the early 1900s, probably some of the rarest bottles you ever find are what we call the back bar bottles. They were in saloons typically. Jack Daniels made 5 versions that I've seen personally over the years. And I've got a couple of them in this case here. One of them was made, this one here on the left with the fancy swirls. It's a heavy crystal bottle made in 1896, and it was made for the 1897 Tennessee Centennial. It's a very, very rare bottle. They were expensive to make, very costly. Probably made them for dignitaries and people, and just didn't make a whole heck of a lot of them over the years. And then they made a back bar bottle when they won the gold medal in 1904 at the St. Louis World's Fair. And as you can see on there, these are white enameled over a black base. And most of your back bar bottles will be a white enamel. There are lots of Kentuckys that have gold writing and things on them, and I have a Jack Daniels that has gold leaf writing on it. But every other panel on that bottle there is in gold. And my understanding is they made that just for some dignitaries and just a few significant people, and that's why I've probably only seen 3 or 4 of those in 43 years, and I've only seen 2 of the Centennial bottles. They also made 3 other different back bar bottles right in the early 1900 time frame. In 1895, they got away from the cylinder quart bottles and went to what they call the 1895 bottle. Generally speaking, and Mike and I feel the same way, these bottles were made with paper labels on them. And generally speaking, they were green or a couple different shades of green. And they're embossed on the back. And there's several versions of this bottle. It has a circle around it. Some don't have a circle. There's some fancy tops that go on these things. But most of these bottles you see nowadays, the label didn't survive. If you get moisture, water of any sort, that label was gone. Unlike the labels nowadays, you can clean them. These you can't really touch. So a lot of these did not survive. But we feel that when they came out in the 1895, that they were labeled with a green label. The only black label that we have ever seen is this one right here. And this is a early 1900 bottle, and the information we have is there's some leftover barrels, and so they made some labeling and bottled bottles for an 8-year, a 10, a 12, a 14, an 18, and a 21-year-old corn whiskey. These are extremely rare, and they are also embossed. This one happens to have a circle on the back, but that's the only black label, and you can see it's called a Lincoln Pure County corn whiskey bottle. And these are very hard to come by.
And we'll have the second half of his presentation on Thursday's news. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. It's a Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
While it may only sound like snoring, sleep apnea is a serious and even life-threatening condition. But it can be successfully treated. Consult with an oral and facial surgeon as part of a sleep medicine team to find out if your snoring is more than just snoring. Oral and facial surgeons are the experts in face, mouth, and jaw surgery. Learn more about obstructive sleep apnea at myoms.org.
Welcome back. Coffee County Mayor Jeb Matheny recently spoke with Andy Farah, Administrator of Elections, about what brought him to that position and what his department does when there's no elections happening.
I have our Register of Elections with us, Andy Farah from Coffee County. Andy's also a former county employee, so I'll let him tell a little bit about his background and then some about his job description. He's actually my neighbor here in the Coffee County Administrative Plaza. He is a separate office than mine. He's appointed, not elected. He has a separate budget from the county that we approve, and he is works for the state. I'll let him explain his scenario with us. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Andy Farah, Administrative Relations here in Coffee County. I came to the county in 2011, March of 2011, so I've been here a couple of weeks back.
What'd you do before that?
Before that, I was with Airmark, working out of Nashville. Got tired of that drive.
Service, yeah.
Got tired of that drive and driving back and forth up there every day. So I was looking for a local position and came into the county as purchasing. Worked there for 8 years before I became Administrative Relation, January 1st of 2019. So I've been here a little over 12 years. The Administrative Election works for the Election Commission, which is appointed by the State Election Commission on recommendation of our state leadership.
Yeah. So the state senator and the state rep for this area have a lot to do with who's on that board. So the Election Commission is set up by state statute. Whoever holds the majority seats in the House of Representatives and the Senate control the number of seats in the Election Commission. So right now its current makeup is 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I work directly for the Election Commission. They appointed me, like I said, in January of 2019, so I've been here a little 4 years.
What do we do in the office daily? Every day we receive updates of voter registrations from the Driver's License Center. Anyone that's got a driver's license can register there, make changes to their addresses, stuff like that. We also work daily on purging voter rolls. So anyone that moves out of the county, anyone that's passed away, we do that on a daily basis with working in conjunction with the state. All the voter registrations that come in, we have to verify they're 100% filled out correctly. U.S. citizen, state of Tennessee resident, signature, that kind of stuff. If they don't, then we're required to mail them a problem letter. So they're not fully registered until everything's 100% complete. Yeah. What do I do preparing for elections? I'm always looking for Coffee County citizens to volunteer to work for the elections. Always. We have a great database of workers here in the county, but I'm always looking to keep that rotating and looking for new workers. Working on polling locations. We just went through the redistricting last year. That was an interesting process. So I just encourage everyone that if you did not vote in 2022, go to our website, go to govotetn.com, verify that your voter registration's updated, you know where your voting precinct is on election day, and that everything's correct.
Good point, and there is a cutoff before every primary and every general where that has to be done, isn't it? 30 days?
Yes, 30
days in advance. So you do need to get out in front of that. And but point is, his office is working every day, all day long to prepare for elections. So when they come, he just has to roll out the machines and coordinate his volunteers. But it's your responsibility as a citizen to make sure you're registered to vote and make sure everything's current. He can, if you have any questions at all, Andy can walk you through that. Very easily stop by my office and we'll take you over to Andy's office either way. But he does a great job. It's beyond reproach. Tennessee has very, very, very fair and judicious elections. We're proud of that process. So, Andy, thank you. And thank you for your past service to the county and your service to the county and the state now.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For many senior citizens, life looks like this, but it doesn't have to. When you make your home at Parkview Senior Living, life after retirement takes on a whole new meaning. Daily exercise options, fun outings, happy hour, game nights, movies and popcorn, arts and crafts, enjoying friends over chef-prepared meals. Parkview Senior Living, where you're always home, but you're never home alone.
I had a knee replacement, so they've got me at Life Care, which I'm very, very thankful for. I couldn't garden, I couldn't do my flower beds, I can't chase my little dogs. I have been in several therapy sessions for knees and back, and that's the best therapist I believe I've ever been to. It's tremendous because I'm able to walk again, but if it wasn't for the care, I wouldn't be where I am.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. The Coffee County Manchester Public Library is calling for artists to submit their original mural designs for the library walls with the theme Go on an Adventure at the Library. The library is encouraging artists to be creative and imaginative with their designs, and the selected mural will be installed on the library building in Manchester. Interested artists must submit their proposed design along with a description to youthservices@coffeecountylibrary.org before the deadline of July 1st at 4:30 p.m. All estimated costs must be included with the design submission, and the Coffee County Library Board will vote on the proposed designs. If selected, the artist will be responsible for procuring all necessary materials for the installation. This is an opportunity for artists to showcase their talent and contribute to Manchester Library's aesthetics, while also leaving a lasting legacy for visitors to enjoy. For more information on the specifics and requirements, interested individuals can contact Ms. Daphne at her email address youthservices@coffeecountylibrary.org. And don't forget to tune in to this week's Living Show tonight at 6:30 p.m., Thursday morning at 9 a.m., and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings at 6:30 p.m. On this week's show, we'll hear from Horseplay about their annual fundraiser that's coming up. Jackie Duncan will bring us some Tullahoma history, and we'll watch some of Jim and Inge Wood's St. Patrick's Day performance at South Jackson Civic Center. All that and more on this week's Living. And stay with us, we'll have your weather forecast right after these messages.
I feel like we're safe at Parkview.
There's somebody on staff all the time. So if you need help, help is there.
We are surrounded with people that are looking after us and taking care of us.
The staff is wonderful and always available. We feel so safe and secure here.
I feel safe at Parkview all the time.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
My husband was diagnosed with a spinal infection. He lost his ability to swallow and the movement of his legs.
I couldn't turn over in bed, I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat.
They were just wonderful in the treatment and care they gave my husband.
I regained my mobility where I was able to go home.
It is miraculous.
Let us champion your recovery. Life Care Center of Tullahoma.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at your weather forecast at this time, starting with your weather history on this date. Our record high was in 1907 at 86 degrees. Record low was in 1955 at 21 degrees. The average high for this day is 65, and the average low is 42. Some frost expected for tonight with a low of 34. Sunny skies for Wednesday with a high of 61 and a low of 37, and sunny skies continue for Thursday with a high of 68 and a low of 51. And that's our news leader broadcast for this evening. We invite you to join us each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. for News Leader. Stay safe. Have a great evening.